There comes a moment when silence wraps around your life like a second skin. Not peace, not rest, but a strange, echoing stillness, where even your breath feels like rebellion. You used to speak, and they listened. Now you speak, and it's as if the air absorbs your voice before it reaches their ears. But the truth is, you were never meant to blend in. You were marked, long before you were known, set apart in rooms that never understood you, and hidden in seasons that seemed to forget you. A crown doesn't lose its value just because it's buried in the dust. A flame doesn't cease to be fire because it's covered. You've walked with secrets not even your closest friends could name. Dreams that don't belong to this world, weight that doesn't match your age, vision that feels more like burden than blessing. They thought you were quiet, but God knew you were in training. They said you changed, but really, you were shedding skins that never belonged to you. You are not invisible, you are in disguise, because to be revealed too soon is to be devoured too early. There is a difference between being overlooked and being hidden by heaven. So if this rings in your bones, if the silence has been loud, if the shadows have felt safer than the spotlight, if your life has felt like prophecy written in flesh, then this message was carved for you. And if you feel it, truly feel it, and still scroll past without subscribing, then ask yourself, is it humility, or is it fear that's keeping you hidden? If you can't say yes, say why not in the comments, because silence won't save you anymore. You are not forgotten, you are not cursed, you are not crazy. The voices that told you otherwise were never speaking from truth, only from fear. They saw your difference and called it dysfunction. They saw your depth and mistook it for darkness. But what they couldn't understand was never theirs to define. You've carried the ache of rejection like it was your inheritance. You've wandered through churches, through friendships, through families, wondering why you never quite fit. You tried to adapt, you tried to fold yourself into their mold, but every time you did, something holy inside you withered, because you were never made to fit in. You were made to disrupt, to disturb the comfortable, to awaken what's been sleeping, to walk through places where others bowed out and still carry the fire like it's fresh from the altar. You are the burning remnant, the one who doesn't bend when the wind changes, the one who doesn't water down truth to keep the peace, the one who sees through smiles, hears behind the noise, and carries discernment like a hidden sword. You thought your sensitivity was weakness, but it was heaven's way of fine-tuning your radar. You thought your loneliness was punishment, but it was God's isolation for transformation. Your wilderness wasn't a delay, it was a forge. Your silence wasn't abandonment, it was divine secrecy. You weren't overlooked, you were hidden in plain sight, because heaven guards what it values. And the weight you feel isn't heaviness, it's a mantle. Time is short, the veil is thin, you can feel it. The shift in the atmosphere, the urgency in your chest, the voice that keeps whispering at 2 a.m., telling you there's more, telling you this world doesn't satisfy because you're not from here. You've been chosen for something that doesn't make sense yet, but it will. And when it does, you'll look back and thank God for every closed door, every unanswered text, every exile, every season where you felt invisible, because it all trained you to hear Him above the noise. You are not disqualified. You are not too old. You are not too broken. You are not too late. You're right on time, and your time is now. But if you feel the weight of this truth and still scroll past the subscribe button, you've already started silencing your own roar. Prove you're not just another echo. Subscribe. They don't always come with red flags. Sometimes the trap wears a smile. Sometimes it sounds like encouragement. Sometimes it even quotes scripture. You think you're being kind, humble, holy. But what if I told you that your humility, the version you've been praised for, is actually fear in disguise? You shrink your voice to avoid offense. You bend your boundaries to keep the peace. You stay quiet when the Spirit screams inside you to speak. And the world applauds. They call you gracious, balanced, wise. But heaven doesn't measure by applause. And the more you bow to people's comfort, the more your mantle begins to slip. That isn't humility. That's people-pleasing, baptized in religious language. And it's killing your authority. You weren't sent to be liked. You were sent to be light. And light doesn't ask darkness for permission to shine. Then there's comfort, the silent idol of the modern believer. You chase ease. You crave quiet. You think peace means the absence of war. So you avoid the fire. You walk around the hard places. You settle for sermons that feel good, not cut deep. You pray for blessings, not boldness. You ask for platforms but avoid the furnace. And without knowing it, you start to worship comfort, not God, not truth, just ease. But comfort will never anoint you. The oil is found in the crushing, the power is in the pressing. There is no upper room without first walking through Gethsemane, and you who were meant to carry fire, have traded it for pillows. And what about comparison, the quiet serpent that slithers in your scrolls, your small talk, your prayers? You say it's just concern. You say you're just trying to understand. But deep down, you're measuring your obedience against someone else's visibility. You see someone called and you doubt your own. You see someone elevated and your heart whispers, "What about me?" You're not envious, you're just curious, right? But God sees what you don't say. And that silent comparison is corroding your confidence. You can't run in your lane while staring at theirs. Then there's the isolation, not the sacred kind. Not the kind that draws you closer to the secret place. No, this is the bitter kind. The kind that says, if they didn't recognize me, I'll just disappear. If they don't call, I won't answer. You begin to wear solitude like a shield, but it's not protecting you. It's poisoning you. Because the enemy knows, if he can't destroy you through the crowd, he'll dismantle you in silence. You were never meant to walk alone. But bitterness will convince you it's safer, that no one gets it, that no one hears God like you. And before long, your prayer closet becomes a prison. Not a place of power, just a chamber of resentment. And perhaps the most dangerous trap of all, the polished preacher with no oil, the viral prophet with no burden, the voice that strokes your ego but starves your spirit. They tell you you're enough. They tell you to dream bigger. They promise harvest without ever mentioning the threshing floor. You welcome snakes because they smiled in robes. You opened your spirit to flattery and called it favor. You fed on charisma instead of character. And now you're wondering why your soul still feels empty after every breakthrough message. It's because you weren't fed. You were entertained. And you can't fight demons on full screens and empty hearts. These are the traps that choke the chosen. Subtle, silent, deadly. And the worst part? You can spot them and still fall in, if you walk alone. Subscribing here isn't following a man. It's standing with the watchman. It's choosing to stay awake. It's choosing to keep your sword sharp. If you won't stand with us, at least confess why in the comments. Because silence now is agreement. You've been told you missed it. Too old, too late, too far gone. You've started to believe it. That the fire you once carried has burned into ash. That your moment came and went. That your window has closed. But heaven doesn't measure by calendars. God doesn't check clocks. He checks hearts. You're not late. You're lethal. Because delay isn't denial. Delay is development. What the world calls slow, God calls strategic. Moses was 80 before his staff split seas. Anna waited her whole life to see the Messiah, but when she did, she recognized him instantly. Paul spent years in the wilderness after his Damascus moment, years in obscurity before his words shook empires. You've been hidden, yes. But hidden is not the same as forgotten. Buried is not the same as dead. A seed in the soil looks like silence until it breaks open with power. This season isn't your retirement, it's your refinement. God didn't sit you down to silence you. He set you apart to sharpen you. While others were building platforms, he was building your backbone. While they chased visibility, you were being trained in invisibility. Because you don't need the stage to carry power. You don't need applause to carry anointing. You don't need a mic to move mountains. Your authority doesn't come from crowds. It comes from scars. And oh, your scars, they're not blemishes, they're scrolls. Each one is a story. Each one is a testimony. Each one is proof that hell swung at you and missed. Proof that you bled but didn't break. That the fire didn't burn you up. It branded you. Age is not your limitation. It's your armor. It means you've seen too much to be deceived. You've cried too long to play games. You've waited too faithfully to settle now. You don't just have experience. You carry evidence. You're not just seasoned. You're dangerous. And don't you dare trade that for comfort. Don't you dare sit down when you were born to stand out. This is not the hour for polished religion or soft speeches. This is the hour of conviction, of consecration, of calling. God is not looking for celebrities. He's looking for soldiers. Not the ones with polished brands, but the ones with blood on their swords. Not the ones who echo culture, but the ones who carry covenant. So yes, there may be fewer around you. Yes, it may feel quieter. Yes, it may look slower. But don't confuse obscurity with insignificance. He's not done. He's just getting to the part where the fire falls. You weren't set aside. You were set apart. You weren't skipped. You were secured. You weren't overlooked. You were overshadowed by the one who anoints in secret and reveals in power. And if any of this stirs your spirit, if something deep in you is standing up again, and you still won't press that subscribe button, maybe it's not God's timing you fear. Maybe it's your own calling. If that's you, say it loud in the comments. Because the enemy wins when you stay silent. But heaven moves when you confess. There comes a time when silence is not isolation. It's sanctuary. You've been told you're too quiet now, too withdrawn. They say you've changed, that you're distant, that you've lost your fire. But what they don't understand is that the furnace doesn't roar, it refines. The holiest things grow in hush, and power often walks without parade. You're not lonely, you're holy. You didn't pull away because you were offended. You pulled away because God was calling you out of the crowd. He didn't call you to entertain. He called you to herald. You weren't meant to blend in. You weren't built for small talk. You weren't made to host every gathering, or answer every call, or explain yourself to every curious onlooker. You were made to carry weight, and weight demands room. Boundaries are not selfish, they're sacred. Every no you've whispered lately, it wasn't weakness, it was worship. Let your no be sacred oil, poured on the altar of obedience. Let your absence from chaos be the loudest sermon you've ever preached. You don't owe access to those who mock your alignment. You don't owe explanation to those who discard your transformation. This next level of obedience will offend the casual. Let it. Stop confusing tolerance with fruit. Stop labeling dysfunction as loyalty. That family tie that suffocates your spirit, that friend who drains your clarity with every phone call, that leader who flatters you into submission but fears your discernment. You weren't called to host that. You were called to shake the ground, and shaking begins in silence. Cut the ties, clean the altars, clear the room, fast from the noise, turn down the volume of man's opinions, shut off the stream of surface-level validation. You've been addicted to being liked for too long. It's time to be consecrated. You don't need 1,000 hands clapping. You need clean hands lifted. You don't need their permission. You need His presence. And yes, it might mean fewer texts, fewer invitations, fewer smiles from those who once cheered you on, as long as you played small. But you weren't made to be palatable. You were made to be prophetic. You weren't born to keep everyone comfortable. You were born to stir the waters. Let them misunderstand you. Let them label you. Let them walk away. Just don't let them distract you. Because the veil is thinning, the clock is racing, the oil is rare. You don't have time to manage appearances when God is calling you to release thunder. This isn't about bitterness. It's about boldness. You're not angry, you're awakened. This is the hour of the remnant, the consecrated, the clear-eyed and unshaken. And they don't come with fanfare. They come with fire. And if you've been aching for this kind of clarity, this kind of holy confrontation, and you still won't join this tribe, maybe it's not confusion, maybe it's compromise, maybe you still crave their approval more than your anointing. Prove me wrong in the comments. You think your days are small. You think your obedience is quiet, invisible, like a drop in an ocean that no one will notice. But let me tell you the truth. Your whispers move atmospheres. Your faith in the hallway, when the doors won't open, is preaching louder than pulpits. The night you chose prayer over panic? It trained the spirit of a child who's watching you silently from the hallway. The moment you said yes to holiness when no one else saw? It planted a seed in soil you'll never walk on, but generations will harvest from. You're not raising a standard just for you. You're raising it for those who don't know they'll need it yet. Your yes today will echo into the heart of a young woman 40 years from now who's standing in front of the same temptation you broke. And because you conquered it, she'll carry authority you forged in fire. You think legacy is something written in books. But legacy is obedience in secret. Legacy is saying yes when your knees are shaking and your hands are empty and your name is unknown. But your spirit is convinced. Your name may never trend, but your yes will outlive the algorithms. It will break curses in bloodlines. It will heal wounds in wombs not yet formed. It will shape the prayers of children you'll never meet. Because when heaven writes history, it doesn't record applause. It records alignment. You are not one voice. You are 1,000 legacies tied to one decision. You think you're waiting for impact, but impact has already begun. Every time you walk in integrity, you shift something. Every time you bite your tongue, choose mercy, stay in the fire, refuse to bow. You are speaking into the marrow of a future you can't see, but heaven already has written. This is not about how many followers you gain. It's about how many foundations you lay. And every time you press into God when it hurts, you are building a place for someone else to stand. You may never hear the applause, but you are someone's answered prayer. You are someone's spiritual inheritance. You are the unnamed elder in a family line who broke the addiction, the pride, the cycle, the silence. Your grandchildren may never see your face, but they will feel your faith. They will walk through doors you prayed open. They will breathe in atmospheres you warred to purify. They will reap peace because you sowed in pain. You are not late. You are not little. You are not lost. You are hidden on purpose, because what you carry cannot be touched by crowds. It must be preserved by consecration. So don't you dare belittle your yes. Don't you dare think your alignment is aimless. You are rewriting spiritual DNA with every decision you make in private. And if you believe your life has eternal impact, if you feel the weight of this assignment, and you still won't subscribe, you need to ask yourself, who benefits from your silence? Because if it's not heaven, then who is it? You are not fading. You are becoming flame. You are not dimming with age. You are concentrating. The world told you your best years were behind you, but they don't know that fire refines as it burns. To the hidden ones, those who never had a platform, a title, a microphone, you thought that made you forgettable. But what they never gave you, God never needed. You've been buried, not forgotten. And seeds only sprout in the dark. You are not weak. You are not late. You are not passed over. You are a furnace disguised as flesh. And I know you've wept in empty rooms after serving full ones. You've poured out when no one saw and laid on your face while others climbed stages. But hear me. Don't let small rooms convince you of a small God. Don't let silence tell you your voice has no weight. The reason you were overlooked is because God never called you to fit in. He called you to ignite. So rise, not to be seen, but to set the watchers on fire. Let your prayers punch holes in the sky. Not cute prayers, not tame prayers. Warfare prayers, earthquaking prayers. Prayers soaked in midnight oil and groaned in unknown tongues. Let the earth feel your alignment. Let hell feel your awakening. You've been praying with restraint. You've been surviving instead of commanding. But this hour is different. The remnant is rising. Prophets in alleyways, intercessors in basements, preachers with no platform but fire in their bones. You don't need their pulpit. You carry the altar, the unseen one, the one built in pain, washed with tears, and lit with surrender. And he saw it. He saw you screaming into your pillow instead of clapping back. He saw you praying for those who betrayed you. He saw you fasting when they feasted, forgiving when they mocked, holding the line when everyone else compromised. Don't you ever doubt the weight of your private obedience. Heaven recorded it, and it shook something. You weren't born to blend in. You weren't born to be polite. You were born to break patterns, generational ones, regional ones, religious ones. There is a global shift, and the kingdom is calling for voices that don't flinch, Not polished, not popular, pure, unshakable, undistracted, unbribed. You carry bloodline authority. You don't just walk in favor, you walk in fire. You are what hell hoped never lived long enough to awaken. You are the answer to someone else's deliverance. You're not a soft song. You're a siren in the spirit. You're not a shadow. You're the signal. Heaven didn't send you here to survive. He sent you here to split darkness open. You walk where angels tremble, not because you're perfect, but because you finally said yes without conditions. And that kind of surrender terrifies the gates of hell. So walk like the called, pray like the blood-covered, stand like the war-born, and speak like eternity is listening, because it is. Don't walk quietly to your finish line. Roar until your final breath. Make your grave terrified to hold you. Make your silence heavier than some men's sermons. You were never meant to end safe. You were meant to end spent. Wrung out, poured over, every scar singing, every breath burning, every yes louder than fear. So pick up your sword again, not for them, for the ones coming after you. Your obedience is their inheritance. Your fire is their foundation. Your yes is their access code. Fast when no one claps. Pray when no one follows. Speak when no one thanks you. Because you were never assigned to applause. You were assigned to war. Heaven sees you, hell fears you, and history needs you. So after all this, after this roar, this weight, this fire, if you still haven't subscribed to Pope Leo XIV Unveiled, either you don't believe you're chosen, or you're afraid of what will happen when you start acting like it. Confess which it is. We'll wait in the comments.